Daryl Johnston, Chris Myers here in Buffalo. This is the way it looks. Venturing in to the second half of the season as the Bears are at the top. It was a matter of hours last Sunday when they went from the bottom to the top of the NFC North, and the Bills trying to work their way up in the AFC East. Blue skies, temperature high 40s, very little breeze, and the sun is out. We head down to the field of Laura Oakland.
Hi, Chris. Sean McDermott said Nathan Peterman has done it in practice. He's done it in preseason. All that's left is to transition it to today, and that, he said, is a mindset, saying we want him to cut it loose, play free, and not be hesitant to pull the trigger because of the past. Speaking of that past, Peterman did a lot of mental work this week, saying the key is to cut myself from the past, learn from it, but not feel like I'm tied to it as I get another opportunity. Chris?
All right, thank you, Laura. And the Bills won the toss. They deferred. Bears will be ready to receive. Taquan Mizell, who was just activated off the practice squad, back to receive the kickoff of Stephen Hauschka. Hauschka, 70% of his kicks have been touchbacks. The Bears come in 4-3. Their victory over the Jets last week, so they have a winning record after 7 games for the first time since 2012. It's week 9 from Buffalo. Bills and Bears, and happening on Fox. Touchback out to the 25-yard line comes Mitchell Trubisky in his second year, number 2 overall draft pick, leading the Chicago offense and wearing number 10, 15 touchdown passes. His 13 touchdown passes, most by a Bears quarterback in a 4-game span since 1947. That's in the last 4. Overall, 15 with 6 interceptions, and he's run for a couple of touchdowns. He's been running the football quite a bit and helping out the Chicago offense with Jordan Howard in the backfield. The pitch to Anthony Miller from his receiver spot, turns upfield and works up near the 35-yard line. This offensive line missing Kyle Long with a right foot tendon placed on injured reserve, could be activated after some 8 weeks.
And that'll be the area that the Bills are going to try to exploit, that those 2 young guards that are up front. And as you pointed out, the running game for the Chicago Bears will be key today. Now, Mitchell Trubisky will play a part of that. You just saw on that opening play with Anthony Miller, there'll be a number of different ways they're going to run the football at these Bills.
He picked up 9 on second down 1. Jordan Howard comes into the backfield. 2-time 1,000-yard rusher. And Howard has the football and has a first down, powering across the 43-yard line. The Bears offense without Allen Robinson, again with a groin injury. Kevin White also inactive against a Buffalo defense that has forced the most fumbles in the NFL, and they're missing Tremaine Edmonds, their rookie middle linebacker who leads the team in tackles. Julian Stanford steps in for him.
Yeah, that'll be a big loss. Amazing the span that he has in the middle of the field to close down those throwing lanes in the passing game for the Bears. But again, this is all about the run game. Can that Bills defensive front slow down the Bears rush?
And so far in a couple of snaps they have not. Trubisky protected and incomplete. A mix-up on that play. Tariq Cohen was in the area. Sean McDermott, who last year took the Bills to the playoffs, snapping a 17-year drought, struggling this year through a situation after having Josh Allen, his top pick and his quarterback, get injured. We'll update that throughout the course of this game. And with Allen, those are the only 2 wins the team has so far this year.
Blue 80! My side! Blue 80! Blue!
On 2nd and 10, Cohen has nowhere to go. And the Bills defense stuffing the run. It was Stanford from that middle linebacker spot. His first year in Buffalo. He's bounced around from the Jags, Lions, and Jets.
And that'll be the thing that's going to be a challenge. We keep talking about this run game, and it's not a traditional running style by the Chicago Bears. Matt Nagy's a guy that comes out of that Andy Reid coaching tree. You're going to see a lot of different pre-snap movement. You're going to have a lot of looks. The eyes of the Buffalo defenders will be key today.
Benny Cunningham comes in on 3rd and 10. That's Joshua Bellamy in motion, who stops to the left of Trubisky. And Trubisky on the move, throws in a crowd, and catch made at the 38 for a first down to Anthony Miller. Those two connected on a beautiful touchdown last week in the win over the Jets.
Nice job of extending this by Mitchell Trubisky, and that's going to be important during the course of today. The pass rush of the Bills is the strength of this defense, just sliding a little bit, giving your receiver some time to work that open field.
40-year-old Matt Nagy, a self-described extrovert. 10 years ago, he was an intern in the NFL. Now he's the coach of a division-leading team. And he has his quarterback to work with as Trubisky fakes and completes again. Miller short of the first down, but an impressive opening drive from this Bears offense.
It really has been, and I give Matt Nagy a lot of credit. I mean, this is a young guy with his first opportunity as a head coach in the NFL. You talked at the top, they're a little bit ahead of schedule. I think they've exceeded expectations that people had of this team coming in, and it's a credit to Matt Nagy and how he's built this on a very, very firm foundation right from the start.
And look at the Bears, an offensive team. You don't say that a lot about the Chicago Bears, but Nagy, Trubisky, and GM Ryan Pace have helped make that happen. But an excellent defensive play as Jordan Howard carries and is stopped right away, bringing up a third down.
Again, you've got all that action coming at you pre-snap that you have to sort through. Good job by Eddie Yarbrough, kind of getting his eyes, not being tricked by motion, getting into the backfield to make a stop.
Loss of 2 at the 32 of Buffalo on 3rd and 5. Trubisky on the move and gets away in trouble. Ball comes out. It's still loose. And the Bears got it back at the 41-yard line.
It's got to be so frustrating for the Buffalo Bills. You pointed out, Chris, they've forced the most fumbles so far this season. That's number 15. They've only recovered 7 of them. So a team that's struggling with an offense needs every break they can get. They're creating opportunities, but they're just not finishing it.
Stanford forced the fumble, and Eric Kush wound up recovering back at the 41 for the Bears. Trubisky got away from one part of the rush but couldn't escape the last part. Micah Hyde back to receive, and a kick that's way short. Fair catch by Pat O'Donnell as he delivers to Hyde at the 18-yard line. LeSean McCoy hoping for a breakout game for Buffalo. We'll see the Bills on offense in a moment. Nathan Peterman leads this Bills offense from his own 18, and they're last in the NFL when it comes to scoring, and it's been 26 drives since Buffalo's been able to produce a touchdown.
And this is unusual because around the league we are on pace to set scoring records league-wide, passing yardage records league-wide, and this Bills offense has just struggled through these quarterback changes.
Peterman to throw on first down and completes. Sage Jones, who leads the team in catches, hauls that in and quickly to the line. Peterman, who remember started the opener. Derek Anderson started Monday night but is inactive with a concussion. Matt Barkley is the backup. The Bills have since signed Terrell Pryor, who's a receiver who can also play quarterback, as McCoy carries, and it's going to bring up third down. Shoved backwards at the 25-yard line.
I like the fact that they came out and they allowed Nathan Peterman to throw on the first down and get him into that rhythm, establish the rhythm. He's got to have confidence. He can't be doubting himself and what he thinks the play calling is going to be this afternoon.
On third down, the pass juggled. McCoy is going to get a first down and go out of bounds around the 35 of Buffalo. Put on a nice spin move. Second on the team in catches is LeSean McCoy, and he hung on to that one to get a first down.
And this is what I mean by getting into a rhythm. There's 25, LeSean McCoy coming out of the backfield. It's a very simple flat route. Get the ball to LeSean McCoy. Let him make a play.
He's still looking for his first touchdown of 2018 after picking up 8. Peterman from the pocket. Hit hard. Up around the helmet area. No flags. And that pass went into the turf.
Now let's take a look at this at the end of the throw. You cannot come to the quarterback's head. Let's see what happens right here. Yeah, inadvertent right there. That's lucky. That should be a flag on Akeem Hicks. Unintentional, but it does not matter. We've seen these called during the course of the season. Contact with the head of the quarterback.
McCoy. And he'll go nowhere. It'll bring up 3rd down and long for this Buffalo offense.
And this is what they cannot afford to do. They can't get into these 3rd and long situations. What the Bears are going to do, they're probably going to play man coverage across the board, put some extra bodies down inside to protect against that running game, and challenge the Buffalo Bills wide receivers to win in one-on-one man coverage.
Bears again without Khalil Mack, who played his college football at Buffalo, missing the 2nd game of his career. Aaron Lynch in his spot. Need to get to the 44 for a 1st down. From the pocket, Peterman's got room to run, but not enough to get to the 1st down. Stopped short of the 38 by the rookie Roquan Smith.
And that was the thing that you're missing from Josh Allen, because Josh Allen, when the ball comes down, he can make some yards. I want you to watch what Nathan Peterman is seeing from his quarterback spot. Watch the coverage on the wide receivers of the Buffalo Bills. There's no separation there. You might have had LaShawn McCoy again quickly in that left flat, but this is what they're going to face all day today. Tight man-to-man coverage. Somebody has got to win on the outside.
Low snap handled by Colton Schmidt, added this week, coming back to Buffalo. And Tariq Cohen slipping some tackles. Flags fly as he goes down around the 27-yard line. Good looking return, but the flag will certainly have an effect. The punt was 53 yards.
During the return, illegal block in the back, return team number 27. 10-yard penalty for the slide and the foul. 1st down, timeout.
Sherrick McManus called for the infraction that'll back up the Bears, but Trubisky leading him for the 2nd time. Tremendous balance on this Bears team. You see where they're ranked in the top scoring offense and defense. Vic Fangio, longtime defensive coordinator, staying on as Matt Nagy came on as the head coach here in Chicago. Last time they drove in position for a 50-yard field goal before a sack and fumble on Trubisky. Penalty backs him up, but on 1st down it's Jordan Howard, and he gets across the 20-yard line. Turned back the clocks last night an hour. Let's recap the season. Big move before the season when they added Matt Nagy and Khalil Mack. Then the NFC North race, their 3 losses by 11 total points combined. Going forward, 5 games left against their division opponents after this one. 3 in the next 11 days. But at the moment, a narrow lead in that division. But 2nd down, and there's a whistle. Vikings are hosting the Lions, and the Packers play at New England later.
False start. Offense number 72. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
So you mentioned they've got those 5 division games remaining starting next Sunday. 3 of those in just 11 days. And that's the point that we're trying to make here at the top on that week-to-week business here in the NFL. And you can't look past anybody. And there was some rumblings about going into that Jets game and now the Bills game to get Allen Robinson healthy, to get Khalil Mack healthy. Boy, if they're ready to play, I put them out there on the field because anything can happen on a Sunday afternoon.
Well, after one penalty, here come more flags on 2nd and 10.
False start. Offense number 72. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
Back-to-back on the Iron Man left tackle, Charles Leno.
And here's what you don't want to do when you're going backwards here. You're going to get that Pizza Hut home field advantage really rocking here at this stadium. These fans get into it. You've got to get them out right away. That's why that opening drive was so important. Quieted this crowd down, but they're back into it now.
Backed up at the Bears 12. 2nd and 15. Trubisky, a quick sideline throw and pushing upfield. Taylor Gabriel Talking to Jordan Poyer in the secondary for Buffalo, he was saying that that's the one guy we can't let get going on that Chicago offense, along with Tariq Cohen.
Yeah, that's the deep threat on the outside. Taylor Gabriel's a guy you got to watch. Those deep balls, very good on the perimeter screen game as well. But Jordan Poyer, very excited. He's got high expectations for this defensive group. Knows they're a little bit young, but he thinks they're growing up pretty quick.
3rd and 7. Trubisky 3 out of 4 early from his own 20. Well protected, middle of the field, and there is Gabriel with a first down up to the 42. A clutch throw and catch by Trubisky and Gabriel.
Is one of the things that you're going to miss when you don't have Tremaine Edmonds in the game. Watch the middle of the field right there. Julian Stanford, just, not that size. Tremaine Edmonds, that reach he has, he gets those arms up. He can really close down some throwing lanes.
A pickup of 22 yards, and I like that Trubisky told us he doesn't lock into one receiver. In fact, he'd prefer not having a number 1 receiver. He likes the variety of places to go with the football. Trusts everybody that they'll make the catch when they're supposed to. Tariq Cohen in the backfield in trouble, reverses field. Kind of a mini block from Trubisky, a standing block, but what an effort from Tariq Cohen, turning a loss into a healthy game. Let's get a game break here and check in with Carissa Thompson. Hey, Carissa.
Hey, Chris. Falcons, Redskins. Falcons looking for their 3rd straight win. This is a way to start it off. Matt Ryan throws the screen to Tevin Coleman, who does the rest. 39 yards. Falcons up early, 7-0. Chris, Daryl, and Laura.
All right, thank you. The Redskins, leaders of the NFC East. And the Falcons have matched up well with Washington over the years.
Missed opportunity by the Bills defense on that last play. An opportunity for a negative play. They allow Tariq Cohen to turn it into a big positive.
He gained 7. Now Howard tries to get the first down. Yeah, looks like he gets close to the Buffalo 48-yard line.
I think one of the things that we heard during the course of the weekend with our visits, there's going to be opportunities to make plays out there. And when they're there, we have to take advantage of it. And that's not just the offensive side of the ball. That's the defense, too. They played that play very, very well, and they had an opportunity to force a 2nd and long, and they let Tariq Cohen escape from them.
3rd down and short. Jordan Howard shoved backward.
The other thing we kept hearing during the course of the weekend from both sides, control of the line of scrimmage. Here's an example right there with the Buffalo Bills taking control of the line of scrimmage. Harrison Phillips, number 99, a great job reestablishing about 1.5 yards in the Bears backfield.
No gamble here for Matt Nagy. Pat O'Donnell in for his 2nd punt on 4th and less than 1 yard. Micah Hyde is back again. O'Donnell averaging just over 45 yards a boot, hoping to pin Buffalo inside the 10 that lets it go, and great positioning by the Bills. Missed the initial tag, but just beyond the 10-yard line. They doubt it, and the Bills will start backed up inside their own 10. Here in Buffalo, it's been an early defensive struggle, and for the Bills, you see the offensive struggles they've had their last 27 possessions, including one earlier in this game. Nathan Peterman with an empty backfield. McCoy in motion as a receiver. He gets the football, puts a move on, and knocked down right away. Nathan Peterman, as we look at the rest of this offense, mentioned the most important quality of a quarterback he thought was confidence. He hasn't lost that. He leans on his faith in tough times, as he has experienced since coming into the NFL.
Yeah, and where is that confidence level right now with what's happened to him in the past? And I love what Lorenzo said, Alexander, when he said the narrative on the outside of this building is when is it going to go bad? I like the way that Coach Daboll started out. He's really being conservative and letting that confidence grow.
And this is McCoy. After no gain, he'll lose yardage. Smothering Bears defense. Akeem Hicks was the guy who made it happen, and Leonard Floyd helping out as well. And Hicks, interesting, we had a conversation. He came in to chat with us with Danny Trevathan, kind of showing the bond and the togetherness, taking it to new extremes when you get an opportunity to talk to guys before the game.
Yeah, and that's what we saw, the chemistry there. I mean, they really enjoyed the time together, kind of answering our questions, and they talked about how it's really throughout the entire team. It's a tight bond that they've developed very quickly.
Chris Ivory in on 3rd and 12. Peterman at his own goal line, underneath and incomplete through the hands of Ivory. And in the field position game, as the Bills line up to punt, the Bears should be set up nicely.
Exactly, and that's why it was important. You got to get some movement, get some yardage on that last series. If you have that 3 and out, now you're punting backed up, and you're going to put the Chicago Bears in great field position, which really puts your defense backs against the wall.
Yeah, Cohen had a nice return last time, but a penalty backed up Chicago, and then a few more penalties before Trubisky bailed him out with a big completion. Schmidt, not a lot of pressure, a sailing kick from midfield. Cohen goes backwards and then works his way up the sideline, and a hit out of bounds. And here comes the flag. It took a moment. You could see the Bears over there signaling after Cohen went up the sideline and was hit out of bounds. Looked like it was Logan Thomas.
Oh, gosh, that's so far out of bounds. I mean, he's 2 yards out of bounds. I mean, you know the scenario, the situation today. Your margin for error is so small because of your quarterback situation. You can't have that mistake.
At the end of the play, we have a dead ball, personal foul. Kicking team number 82. 15-yard penalty added to the end of the run. Automatic, first down, timeout.
4-yard run, 15-yard penalty, and the Bears are set up nicely. So sit back, enjoy some wings, have a cold one. We're going to enjoy some football. And Mitchell Trubisky has shown not only through the air but on the ground whatever he has to do to lead this Bears offense. From the Buffalo 33, Jordan Howard in the backfield. Quick throw. Pressure up front as that flutters away. Now, Matt Nagy, when he took over as head coach, when he was in Kansas City and did the research when they were looking at quarterbacks the year before, was familiar with Trubisky as he studied, so he knew what he was getting. He said when they sat down at that combine, you get 15 minutes with the guy. He said, I wasn't so impressed. But later, when we had him in and spent hours, 5-6 hours, I really liked the guy.
Yeah, 6 hours. They brought in their top 6 guys. So, going through that process to get Patrick Mahomes out in Kansas City, Matt Nagy very familiar with Mitchell Trubisky.
And he hands off to Howard. And Howard does a good job of getting down to the 30. To bring up a third manageable, as Trubisky said, staying out of 3rd and 7, 6 or 7 with this Buffalo defense is a goal of ours. He thought 1st and 2nd down were key when you talked to him about going into this game a specific approach.
Yeah, very good last week against the Jets. The Jets have a tendency to become very exotic on 3rd and long situations. So another chore today. Can they really stay ahead of the change? Because the Bills won't try and trick you with scheme. They're just going to try and beat you with their personnel in that pass rush.
Tariq Cohen comes in on 3rd and 5. And it's a run to Cohen, who has daylight, gets the first down, but a flag comes in the backfield. Already 3 penalties.
During the run, holding, offense number 68. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot, replay, 3rd down.
The rookie James Daniels called for the infraction. 4th penalty accepted on the Bears.
Yeah, you just got to let him go. Right when he goes to separate right there, just let him go. I mean, you can hold. I've held it quite a few times in my career, Chris, but that guy starts to separate, you just let him go so the refs can't see it.
You don't want anybody to notice. And that takes a first down off the board and backs him up to the 42 as the opening quarter winds down. And scoreless so far with the Bears and the Bills on Fox. Check of the numbers after 1 quarter here in Buffalo. Scoreless, kind of what we expected, right? A defensive struggle between these two teams.
Yeah, and field position was going to be key. So the Bears forcing that 3 and out with the Bills backed up. Got great field position. Here's an important snap right here. You're right on the cusp of that field goal line for the Bears kicker. Let's see what the Bills do here.
Need 15 for a first down, maybe 7 or 8 for a field goal try. Trubisky Middle of the field and open. Down to the 16 is Trey Burton. And ball ruled down right away. Whistle and the official on it. Catch down. First down, Chicago.
There's Trey Burton, number 80. One of the more dynamic tight ends. He's kind of a matchup problem down the field. He's a former quarterback, so he kind of understands he's going to be able to see the coverages unfold as he's going downfield.
And they hurry to the line at a quick snap after a 26-yard gain. Cohen carries going out of bounds. Trey Burton coming over from the Eagles, where he sported a Super Bowl ring, and it's a flag down now in the Bills secondary. And the officials huddling here. The Bills have had an issue with penalties this season, but it's the Bears today. Could be too many men on the field for the defense.
12 players on defense. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
And that is the call against Buffalo.
Can't have that. Can't have that this afternoon. Not when you're kind of working through a part of your season where injuries have really impacted your team. We had Logan Thomas with the hit out of bounds for 15 in the first quarter. Now we've got too many men on the field. Communication. These are simple things. You cannot have mistakes like that when you're going through a period like the Bills are right now.
And it spots the ball at the 11-yard line of Buffalo, and a fun down for an offense when it's 1st and 5. Can do a lot of things with Tariq Cohen. And he's got a direct snap. Cohen hands or fakes to Gabriel and goes forward. Trubisky was in the backfield.
Trubisky dotting the I.
Shaq Lawson making the tackle. And after all that creativity on offense, a healthy gain on 2nd down now.
His defense has played well here at home. You've got an opportunity to see him last Monday night against the Patriots. Outstanding through 3 quarters. See if they can buckle it down right here.
Trubisky keeps toward the end zone, and they're not giving it to him. He got down to the goal line. Close to his 3rd rushing touchdown, but they say no, they're going to spot it down there, and good enough though for a 1st and goal.
Yeah, you see that knee was down before he stretched out.
Straight ahead, Jordan Howard, touchdown for the Chicago Bears, and they score first here, punching through in the 2nd quarter.
Huge conversion on that 3rd and long by the Chicago Bears. The pass to Trey Burton, and then they just kind of jumped up and went up tempo on the Buffalo Bills once they got into the red zone, and that's a little walk-in right there for Jordan Howard.
For Howard, his 4th rushing touchdown this season, and against a tough Buffalo defense. Cody Parkey now to try and add the extra point. And from that 33-yard mark, he punches it through, and after Trubisky's big pass play and run to the goal line, hands it to Howard. The Bears, who lead the NFC North, have the lead here in Buffalo in the 2nd quarter. Scoring drive, benefit of a short field set up by the Bears defense and special teams. Howard coming off one of his better games of the season. He had 22 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown against the Jets. Overall, I mean, he'll tell you he's running behind his pace of the last 2 years when he topped 1,000 yards rushing in each, but important for Chicago that he gives them the 7-0 lead here. And back to receive, Marcus Murphy as Cody Parkey. Just over 13 minutes to go before the half. He kicks the bouncer that rolls into the end zone, so it will come out to the 25-yard line.
So let's go back and see what the mobile quarterback does. Here's Micah Hyde right here. Now what's going to happen, they're going to put him in a tough spot. You get a real nice block by Trey Burton there, then you're going to get the double and the climb here. So Micah Hyde cannot squeeze down in because he has to watch Mitchell Trubisky. He's got to be responsible for that outside gap, and that's what the quarterback makes the defense do, account for every single back. In a traditional running game, if you're just turning around and handing that off, he could have been Michael could have squeezed that down and possibly made a play.
Trubisky's run for 300 yards this year. Only Cam Newton among quarterbacks has run for more yards as McCoy carries to the 27. And let's check in with Carissa for another game break.
Thanks, Chris. So the Panthers were already up 7-0 on the Bucs when Cam Newton hands it off to Christian McCaffrey, who does the rest. Back-to-back games with a rushing touchdown from McCaffrey. Panthers up 14-0. Chris?
Thank you. Speaking of Cam Newton, Norv Turner's done a tremendous job as the offensive coordinator, your old coach there in Dallas. As you look at the NFC South, Saints have the Rams later today on Fox in one of the best matchups of the year. McCoy across the 30. They'll bring up third and about 4. The Vikings are leading at home against the Lions 7-3. And as we mentioned, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers up in New England later on tonight. Bears, after this, come home to face the Lions and the Vikings.
Big snap here. Nathan Peterman's got to find a way to convert here on third down. Can't send your defense right back out onto the field.
Peterman from the pocket has the short completion and a first down. Jason Kroom all the way into Bears territory at the 43-yard line of Chicago.
I just really like the play calling right now. Real simple. You're going to use a little bit of motion here inside, and that's going to help get you your separation. Roquan Smith has trouble getting that caught up to, and you've got Jason Kroom running free.
Quick snap. McCoy brought down in the backfield at the 46-yard line. A tremendous defensive play by Aaron Lynch, who again is in there for Khalil Mack, who is inactive. And there is Mack, who disappointed he couldn't come back. His brother, his younger brother, playing at Buffalo, where he played his college football. And what a force he has been. What a pickup for this Bears team. They think he'll be ready next week against the Lions with that ankle injury. After a gain of 26, then a loss of 2. Chris Ivory in at running back from the 45. Peterman out of bounds. Excellent pressure by Chicago. And again, it was Aaron Lynch, who already has a couple of sacks this year. We may see more of the tight end. We saw Kroom make that big play. Charles Clay, Laura Oakman telling us from down on the field. Clay now questionable with a hamstring injury for the Bills, and he's one of their top pass catchers. And there haven't been many on this Buffalo team. They haven't been able to throw with much success this season, facing a 3rd and 12. Extra pressure on Peterman, and incomplete for Kelvin Benjamin.
Starting to stretch the field a little bit more. Started out with some short conservative throws. Now we're pressing the field a little bit. Kelvin Benjamin gets off the press coverage and just a little errant with the throw by Nathan Peterman. But again, we're seeing that man-to-man coverage. They're going to force the Bills to beat them one-on-one. They feel comfortable with their matchups on the outside.
Colton Schmidt, we mentioned he was with the Bills, and then when he was cut and released earlier in the year, he hung out at the home opener at a tailgate party. Took in the vibe. Fair catch called for. And Cohen just beyond the 10-yard line. And the Bears will take over on offense with a 7-0 lead. And the USS Little Rock docked here in the Buffalo area. Earlier we mentioned Mike Nagy from Kansas City, where a couple of years ago he was doing research on quarterbacks, Mahomes and Trubisky. So an easy transition. You can see the success in their second year, and the same with Deshaun Watson. All division leaders as Trubisky takes over at the 11. Jordan Howard on the carry. Harrison Phillips on the stop. And Matt Nagy, if I said Mike, forgive me on that transition. But Matt Nagy, doing that research, felt comfortable, as you talked about.
Yeah, and you saw the numbers of games that the guys had started. And I think the thing that jumps out, you know, Mitchell had started 19, Deshaun had started 14, Patrick Mahomes just 9 games. Matt Nagy considered that the ideal situation last year in Kansas City, where he was able to sit behind Alex Smith and kind of learn the game from the sidelines, not have that pressure. We talked to Mitchell Trubisky about it. He was happy being thrown out there on the field. Some guys want to learn on the fly.
Trubisky's throw. Taquan Mizell, again, just off the practice squad, moving upfield. And Trubisky grateful because he said, like in life, your career, the circumstances, who you're around, and to have an offensive-minded head coach, a guy who's been a quarterback, who's been a play caller, valuable. By the way, Nagy, Hungarian, the translation from that to English, it means great. So Matt Nagy's got a lot to live up to as the head coach.
And if this offense is going to be great, he just needs to get some people around Mitchell Trubisky. He's got some good young guys out there right now. And that's the thing that sets Mahomes apart. Mahomes he's got an incredible supporting cast in Kansas City.
An important third down for the Buffalo defense. Pressure coming, but Trubisky lets it go. And the defender ran into the pass. Taron Johnson, as Joshua Bellamy was the target, was open for a moment.
And this is a guy that a lot of guys are. Sean McDermott really raved about Taron Johnson. You know, one of those young guys. You know, there's your rookie nickelback. You've got a rookie linebacker who was out today, Tremaine Edmonds. But this is a nice mix of some older guys and some young, exciting players on the defensive side of the ball for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, Shaq Lawson put the pressure on Trubisky. That's why that throw was a little off the mark. Micah Hyde standing at the 42. And has O'Donnell's punt. Trying to get into Bears territory and does, knock down right away. Tomorrow on Fox, 911. All new, and critics say it remains the greatest and wildest show on television. Don't miss an all new 911 tomorrow, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. You can see it on Fox.
Well, good complimentary football by the Bills on the last couple series. Let's see what they can do with this now on the offensive side of the ball. Had the big play to Jason Kroom that got him the 26-yarder that got him out of the hole, and then they punted and they forced a 3-and-out. So starting this drive in Bears territory.
And the touchdown streak, the lack thereof, continues. Longest since 2003 for the Bills. Peterman on the move and completes. Benjamin. First down at the 36 of Chicago.
Now, we've talked a little bit about Nathan Peterman and some of the rough outings he's had, but I still really don't think you really know what's there. I mean, this is nice when he gets into a rhythm and he starts to play. Even from his college days, you know, you're not really sure exactly what type of player he can be. I love the way they've started him out here today, though, giving him some nice options to throw the ball.
Gain of 14, Ivory into some traffic. His college days, he was at Tennessee, then transferred to Pittsburgh, Nathan Peterman. And in college, his signature win, his best game, he had a 5-touchdown passing game when Pitt beat then number 2 Clemson and Deshaun Watson. That was Clemson's only loss in that national title season. When I asked him what he remembered about that, he said, well, it was just one of those games that nobody gave us a chance. And he's dealing with that feeling a little bit today. Ivory run out of bounds right at the 35 by Roquan Smith, number 1 pick out of Georgia. Laura.
Daryl's talking about how much he likes this rhythm right now that they put Nathan Peterman in. Brian Daboll told me that was the key, to get him some easy completions early in the game, get the rush game going. I told you guys earlier, they did a lot of mental work along with the physical work this week. The biggest message was there's so much noise, it's hard to ignore it. But Daboll said we tried to declutter Nathan's mind as much as we could.
Daboll said that the best quality of Peterman was that it was mentally tough, and he has to be given the situation. Juggled and eventually caught by Jason Kroom. The ball comes out, and the Bears have it. It's a fumble and a takeaway. Eddie Jackson going the other way for a Chicago touchdown. Wow. Ruled a fumble on the field. And a Bears score, but it'll be reviewed.
Good job by Eddie Jackson right there. Stands him up. Here comes Roquan Smith from the inside. An obvious fumble. Heady play by Eddie Jackson right there. Scoop it up and get moving.
Man, that sure looks like a fumble and a takeaway. The 18th takeaway for this Bears team. That's third best in the league coming in, and they score on their takeaways, as we just saw on a 66-yard fumble return. Parkey for the extra point. And that's through. But when the Bills were moving, when the offense looked like it was finding its rhythm, Eddie Jackson forced the fumble, ran it back, and crickets in Buffalo. It's 14-0 Bears. Eddie Jackson, his third career touchdown, big play on the return, and you see what Chicago does. Vic Fangio's defense. You think of a mad scientist on offense, he's kind of like that with his defense.
Yeah, being able to generate the takeaways, but then the points off. You mentioned that's the most important thing. Sometimes we talk about the turnover battle and what happens, but if your defense can come out and kind of steady the ship, if you have a turnover, that's important. But you see what the Chicago Bears have done to their opponents, 72 points off of those turnovers.
Touchback there, third defensive touchdown this season for the Bears. Fox Sports Support's proud to partner with The Mission Continues, a nonprofit organization deploying military veterans to build stronger communities across the country by improving schools, revitalizing parks, fostering neighborhood development. You can help. Visit www.missioncontinues.org and learn more. A quick snap to Terrell Pryor and knocked down right away. Signed this week, the former quarterback receiver who had a 1,000-yard season when he was in Cleveland. Recently with the Jets, and we may see a little more of him and some trickery because Buffalo is hoping to change that graphic.
Yeah, when you have that to start the game in your first 4 possessions, you're open to trying anything, and the Bears are going to be ready for it. They saw how they started the game against the Patriots last Monday night with the Wildcat plays. They know that everything's on the table from a play calling standpoint from Brian Daboll.
After a loss of 1, Peterman open, juggled, and it looks like it's taken away, and it is. It's another interception. Adrian Amos grabbed it out of the air when Pryor couldn't close the deal. He had it in his arms, but juggling until Amos came up with the interception.
Yeah, just devastating coming from the outside. Terrell Pryor, number 10. He's going to run the in route, the dig coming back to the inside. He's got the ball secured. It's a really nice job staying with it by Kyle Fuller and getting that ball to pop up. This goes down as an interception to Nathan Peterman, but Terrell Pryor's got to make that catch.
Kyle Fuller was on Pryor and helped shake that ball loose for Amos's takeaway, the second one for the Bears defense in this quarter. Trubisky over the head of Anthony Miller.
Well, if this defense of the Bills is going to carry the team for a while as they work through this transition at the quarterback spot with all the injuries, here's a great opportunity for them to show what they're made of. This is a real pivotal point right here with the back-to-back turnovers on those drives by the Bills offense. Can this defensive unit stand up and hopefully force no points, but at worst a field goal attempt?
I think Sean McDermott was hoping his defense would come up with some takeaways. It's been the other way around from the 38 of Buffalo. Trubisky to throw again, and with the first down catch. There's a flag in the secondary, but Trey Burton gets inside the 25. Check the flag back at the 14. Looks like it's against the Bears.
Pass interference, offense, number 80. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot, replay, second down.
Trey Burton working against Phillip Gaines.
Well, it would have been a pickup of 15, but now with the penalty, backs him up all the way to the 48. And second and 20.
What are you doing? I'll go run.
Trubisky high, but hauled in around the 36 as Anthony Miller, the rookie from Memphis. Let's check in again for a game break with Carissa.
Thanks, Chris. You'll like this play called by Norv Turner. So Cam fakes it to McCaffrey, who pitches it to DJ Moore to Curtis Samuel. A double reverse still going. gets into the end zone. He's got his team up 21-7. We will see the Panthers on Fox Thursday night against the Steelers. Chris?
And we look forward to that. Thank you. A little magic from the Panthers against Fitzpatrick, and Fitzmagic, if you want to call him that, on the Bucs. Carolina's sneaky good. If the Saints weren't on top in the NFC South with their outstanding record, they might be getting more attention. Bears are going to use a timeout here, facing a 3rd down and 8. And now this from Progressive. Bears will have 2 timeouts remaining. So they need to get down to the 28 for a 1st down. Right now you're looking at about what would be a 54-yard field goal try. So if they pick up something, they might have a decision to make whether to go for it on 4th or try and kick for 3. Howard and Cohen in the backfield. Cohen splits out as a receiver, and now Buffalo uses a timeout. And the Bills will have 2. Well, another AFC opponent for these Chicago Bears, and they have held up well. Of course, they had a terrific game against the Patriots. Darryl, audience, Chris, nice to see you. It's been a tough game for the Bears, but they're expected to win, and they're doing that even though they're on the road against a very good defensive team.
Maybe the one concern I had coming in was, were they going to look past Buffalo, which nobody is really going to admit to, but when you looked at that stretch with the Jets and the Bills, I think you look at those as winnable games if you continue to play the way you are. But, you know, resting Khalil Mack and getting him ready for this push coming up after this game, when they've got all those division opponents coming up, you wondered if maybe they could come out and be a little bit sloppy. They've come out, they've taken care of business. We challenged them to do that at the top, and they have started off that way.
And they've beaten 2 out of those 3 AFC East opponents, as we have a flag.
False start. Offense number 72. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
That's his third on Charles Leno here just in the first half. So it'll back him up to the 41. Yeah, I think Matt Nagy, I don't know if it was resting, he just wanted to be sure, because when he said as for Robinson and Mack, it was really Sunday morning decisions in terms of waiting out their injuries. And 2nd straight game that the Bears are playing without those 2. On 3rd and 13. Trubisky with a quick throw, and it's incomplete. And 4th down. He was trying to get it to Gabriel, who has 2 catches in the game.
Nice job by the Bills defense. It's a responsive game, and if one side of the ball makes a mistake, you want the other side to go out and answer the bell, and the Bills defense did that. Had a little bit of help from that Bears offense, but that's nice right there. Get your offense back on the field, down 14. Don't let it get to 17 or 21.
6 penalties have been accepted against Chicago in this first half, and they've come at tough times as O'Donnell tries and pin him again. A high short kick, bounces inside the 10 and goes out of bounds. McManus there. Mentioned a little bit of the background of Nathan Peterman. Couple of seasons at Tennessee, had a couple of starts there. Graduated in 3 years from Tennessee in communications, earned an MBA at Pitt from near Jacksonville. And again, started the regular season opener. Yes. Despite the drafting of Josh Allen.
4 down, 58's
He's
Mike.
out with an elbow. He's at practice. He's just not throwing the football.
59's Mike.
And Peterman today, 6 of 11. And has time. Logan Thomas the catch and knocked down at the 14.
Bills offensive line doing a nice job today, and we talked about the supporting cast, and it's not just the wide receivers and the running backs, you know, helping out, getting yards and stuff, but allowing Nathan Peterman to feel confident that his guys up front are going to give him the time. He's been able to stand in that pocket and go through his progressions.
Well, he hasn't thrown an interception. Well, he had that one interception and then the one fumble, so 2 turnovers, one of them his fault, responsible for. But that's what's plagued him in the NFL is interceptions. McCoy.
I don't know, Chris. I'm not going to give that one to him. I'm going to give it to Terrell Pryor.
For juggling.
He's got to make that. He's got to catch that clean. You know, it goes on Nathan Peterman.
It wasn't a perfect throw, but it was catchable.
Yeah, it could have been thrown a little bit better. But, you know, Terrell Pryor puts his hands on it. He's got to finish it. Everybody knows the situation right now. Your margin for error is virtually zero, and you've got to play it as well as you can. And that was an opportunity to make a play, and he didn't.
It's a valid point, and his teammates said that we have to support Peterman in any way possible. Even some of the defensive players. Blitz is on, and Peterman's throw, and that's another takeaway for the Bears. Leonard Floyd with a touchdown for Chicago.
I have no idea why that is not pass interference on Kyle Fuller.
Looked like Fuller went into Zay Jones, and they may be discussing, but there was no flag.
I mean, watch right here. I mean, it's no pick play. There's no motion. I mean, he is there super early, gets through. Boom, there's huge contact right there before the ball gets there.
Now, Fuller may have got his hands on the football.
Was Floyd. It tipped at the line of scrimmage? I mean, there's contact before the ball
arrives.
There's
no foul for defensive pass interference as the contact was right at the line of scrimmage. The ruling of touchdown is confirmed.
Akeem Hicks fans here don't agree with what the official just said, and neither does Sean McDermott. Akeem Hicks had his arm up, but we couldn't tell if that ball was deflected, and you clearly couldn't see if Fuller got his hands on the ball before Leonard Floyd snatched it out of the air and took it into the end zone. It's a 19-yard return and another defensive touchdown for the Bears.
All right, now explanation of the call is there was no pass interference on the defense because it happened within a yard of the line of scrimmage. Now that is those screen plays that we're seeing, what we call a rub or a pick. If it happens within a yard of the line of scrimmage, you can't call pass interference. Sean McDermott right now, I don't think that was inside a yard of the line of scrimmage. And that's not kind of what that play is being done by.
We have our rules analyst, Dean Blandino, watching along with us.
I tell you what it is. It's right at 1 yard. It really is.
The officials were spot on, at least as they called it. And Dean Blandino joins us now. Dean, your thoughts?
Yeah, so remember, pass interference rules, whether it's offense or defense, apply once you go beyond a yard from the line of scrimmage. And you can see the contact is right at a yard, so that's legal contact. If that contact had occurred at 2 yards or 3 yards downfield before the ball arrived, it's a foul. But there, it's legal.
Thank you, Dean, and appreciate the clear explanation. That's a tough call to make on the fly, and the officials certainly did by not throwing a flag. And the Bears have a 21-0 lead.
That's one of those plays when you saw it at game speed.
Absolutely.
There's no way that's within a yard of the line of scrimmage.
I thought the same thing. My reaction was, is that pass interference? But the yard difference. And the Bears have taken control of this game, and I mean taken. These are not giveaways. They had to Eddie Jackson. Interception by Adrian Amos. And then moments ago with Fuller and Floyd, that combo. And I know people are waiting for Leonard Floyd to get a sack in Chicago. That's not bad. Ivory, as a flag comes in, he gets knocked down at the 26-yard line. Roquan Smith has been busy. Second on the team in tackles, making that one.
Personal foul, offense number 73, leg whip. Half the distance penalty, replay, first down.
Sean Smith, our referee, calling Dion Dawkins on that infraction. The leg whip on Isaiah Irving. So the Bills 3 turnovers in the last 6 plays. The offense, I won't say self-destructing because the Bears are forcing them to fall apart. And that's exactly what they're doing. 1st and 22. Ivory goes down inside the 10.
And now you're just so gun shy right now in what to do from a play calling situation. You know, Brian Daboll understanding where he's at, and you're forced to play a certain style, and he's trying to stay within that framework, but it's going to be hard right now at 21-0. You've got to let him go. You got to let him turn it loose, like Laura said earlier.
From his own end zone. Logan Thomas knocked down. There's just not. And in defensive, the offensive approach from Buffalo, they've had a lot of different players coming in and out, whether it's a Terrell Pryor, whether it's the 3 different quarterbacks that have had to play this year. Derek Anderson inactive, Josh Allen inactive with that right elbow. In fact, they signed Matt Barkley this week to help back up Nathan Peterman.
Well, and you're also trying to go through and figure out what are the strengths of each one of these quarterbacks, you know, whether it's Josh Allen or Nathan Peterman or Derek Anderson, you know, what do they do well? How do I incorporate that into my offense that I have installed?
We've hit the 2-minute warning. Each team with a couple of timeouts for the season now. 20 takeaways for the Bears. Their defense has made it 21-0 here in Buffalo. Piece of halftime report coming up. Jets, Dolphins in the AFC East. And the Vikings are leading 14-6 over the Lions in Minnesota. Late, almost at halftime there in the second quarter. The team right behind the Bears. Packers play New England tonight. There's a flag as Chris Ivory fights hard. Taking up near a first down, but the flag at the 11-yard line.
During the run, holding, offense number 79. Half the distance penalty, replay, 3rd down.
Jordan Mills called, so that it seems like the minute that McDermott's team does something right, they do something to take them backwards, and even their 3 turnovers, that puts them now in the -9 category for the season. That's tough to win no matter how healthy you are on offense.
You know that Sean McDermott preached to his guys all week. Listen, guys, we can't have mistakes during the game today. We got a fine line, and turnovers and penalties. It's been not a very good first half for the Bills.
Marcus Murphy is in at running back, and he goes straight ahead to give the punter some room. Let's get another game break. Carissa, what's happening?
Well, Chris, Redskins were trailing 14-0 when Alex Smith will find Josh Doxson for a 2-yard score, his first touchdown of the season. Now Redskins only down by 7. Chris?
Thank you. The Falcons try to get to 500, and the Redskins hanging on to the NFC East as the Bears use a timeout. These are your division leaders. Washington trailing at the moment. The Bears are leading. The Saints and Rams tangle later on Fox. What a year Drew Brees is having, and the same for Todd Gurley along with Jared Goff and that Ram offense. Tariq Cohen at the 45 of Chicago, and Colton Schmidt standing in his own end zone. Bears will have a timeout and plenty of time, waving everybody away. Cohen will grab it and move it upfield. Spins out and spins all the way back to the 31, but he's got room across the field. Tariq Cohen blocking for him down the sideline all the way down to the 21 of Buffalo. Boy, that was a lot of real estate covered.
All right, we actually talked to Matt Nagy about this. We're like, okay, give us a comparison of Tyreek Hill and Tariq Cohen. And he said, well, number one, Tyreek Hill, unique speed, and he's a wide receiver that can be a running back. Tariq Cohen is a running back that can play wide receiver, so you can see the advantage right there of his ability to keep his balance, maintain his feet. But I think he's very similar in that vein, and I don't know how many times we're going to say this in the first half. There's just no support. This team is out of sync. You challenged them defensively. They've done a good job defensively here in the first half. Offense has turned the ball over. Now special teams, a big punt return, and you got to corral a guy like Tariq Cohen.
So that return wound up being 36 yards when it looked like he might lose yardage, and initially didn't want to take the punt because it bounced. What a return, setting up Trubisky. Short pass to Anthony Miller. And he's knocked down around the 17-yard line.
I mean, it's honestly like the third time in this game today that Tariq Cohen has been caught for negative yards or potentially negative yards and has been able to turn it into a positive play, the biggest one being that last punt return.
He's only 5'6", more than 100 scrimmage yards in 3 of the last 4 games. And huffing and puffing after it may have been 36 yards. It must have felt like 86 to him. Jordan Howard has daylight. Jordan Howard bouncing inside into the end zone for a Bears touchdown. A 2-touchdown game for Jordan Howard. And that's worth posing for. Get everybody in the photo.
Yeah, this run game kind of hit their stride last week against the Jets. A season high 179 yards rushing and really grinding out the clock at the end. But this is just a real strong physical run. That's Jordan Poyer, who he breaks the tackle of down inside the 5-yard line. He's a good safety in this league.
An 18-yard run for Howard, taking advantage of good field position and punching it in. And now 28-0.
Again, it's that zone read. You got to account for every gap, and here he comes downhill, and he's going to drop the hammer on Jordan Poyer.
Well, the Bears have led in every game this year, including this one. Trying to go to 5-3. 28 points now, all coming in the second quarter. And they haven't had a game this year where they have been on the negative side of the giveaway, takeaway, the turnover differential. And obviously they're in good shape in that department. We talked about them maybe being ahead of schedule. A dominating quarter puts them on schedule to get through the second half of this game and get ready for some division opponents. See how much fight Buffalo has left in them here. The Bills will get the football to start the second half.
Oh, they'll have fight. They're coached by Sean McDermott. They'll have some fight in the second half.
Marcus Murphy, if he has the chance, and he'll let it go. Touchback out to the 25. Let's find out what's coming up at the half.
Coming up on the Visa Halftime, it's Week 9 and we're halfway through the season. Check out highlights from the Jets and Dolphins. The Steelers visit the Ravens, and the Browns have the tough task of taking on the Chiefs. It's all coming your way on the Visa Halftime.
Thanks, Kurt. Look forward to seeing you and the guys and all the highlights. The Vikings have now a 17-6 lead over the Lions as they have hit the half, so they'll show you that game. Nathan Peterman to throw. Dumps it off to Marcus Murphy, who slips a tackle and goes out of bounds. Bills have 2 timeouts and 36 seconds remaining. Peterman now 10 out of 16, 60 yards. Has suffered 2 unusual-looking interceptions. 1 return for a touchdown. Bears with 2 defensive touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, money.
And Peterman slips out of a tackle on the run. Overthrows Kelvin Benjamin, and a flag back at the 21.
Holding, offense number 73. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
Another call against Deion Dawkins, the second-year left tackle from Temple.
Yeah, struggling on the edges and protection right now. That's his second penalty. Had the leg whip earlier. Jordan Mills with a couple of penalties at the right tackle spot.
I mean, and they're not even seeing Khalil Mack today. Bears defense has been relentless. Knocked down at the 26 is Logan Thomas. Timeout. 18 seconds remaining. And Buffalo will have one more timeout. Well, they were moving the football as Mack looks on until the Bears defense forced a turnover. Haven't really been close to the end zone at all in this game.
4 down! 58, 59,
And the string of drives without a touchdown continues. There's a flag in the backfield as Peterman went down. He was trying to get the ball to Terrell Pryor on the sideline.
This is one of the ones that all these defensive linemen are going to get mad about.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 59. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Yeah. Coming on a blitz, gets chopped down. Now he's down along the around the knees of Nathan Peterman. So
you can see Danny Trevathan put his arm back.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't mean that. But anything below the knees, around the head, he's like, hey, I get the
a little pie face right there.
Trevathan leads the team in tackles, has had a couple of sacks this year.
4 down, 59, right.
Bears with that penalty give fresh set of downs to Peterman. And incomplete in the area of Marcus Murphy. The 28 points equaling the second most by the Bears in the second quarter. 31 is a team record. Defense certainly giving fits to Buffalo. It's funny, the Bears too had the second fewest penalties in the league. Titans had the fewest, and Chicago got in trouble early with some 7 penalties. We're going to have another timeout for, this time it's Chicago with 7 seconds remaining, their last timeout. Well, I know we have a half to play, and the Bills' offensive struggles, Daryl, have been well documented, and the Bears' defense certainly has done its part today. But I don't think that people were talking about the Bears as a playoff team prior to this season. We're now moving into the second half of the season, and they're at the top of a very competitive division. So I think people have to take a little bit of a closer look at how Chicago has developed this season.
You mentioned it right at the very top, maybe ahead of schedule, maybe exceeding some of the expectations that people have for them coming into the season. But some of the things you're talking about, they're not penalized a lot. They're doing good in the turnover ratio. I mean, the things that are within their control that are important in the game of football, playing good complementary football, not only taking it away, but scoring points when they do.
Logan Thomas with another catch, and we should have one more play here unless there's a penalty. 2 seconds remaining in the half, and again Buffalo at this point just trying to get some points on the board, facing a 3rd down and 4, and set up for, if they want to try, a throw for the end zone, a Hail Mary. 90 yards of total offense for Buffalo in the first half. Peterman is going to get sacked at the 44, but around there comes a flag. It's around the helmet area as Aaron Lynch got to him.
Aaron Lynch, number 99.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 99. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. This will be an untimed down.
And it looked as they moved the ball all the way up to the 37 as if Peterman was trying to set up the throw to the end zone. And even if that's an open hand and it's unintentional, right, you're still any hand near the face mask, you're going to get called, especially on the quarterback.
Well, if you grab and turn, right? I mean, you've seen the stiff arms where the guys will actually put an open hand on the face mask and push, as long as you're not grabbing and turning as an offensive player. But this is going to be interesting to see what happens right here.
Bears drop 3 defensive backs inside the 5, back around the goal line, and Buffalo uses a timeout.
30 seconds.
Be a 30-second timeout.
Boy, as good a half as Chicago has played here with that face mask penalty and the untimed down. If Buffalo can pull something off here right now and get it to 28-7, what a downer that would be going into the locker room.
And a bonus for Buffalo. Now they're passing up what would be a 55-yard field goal try. Maybe that's something that they're discussing here. Stephen Hauschka's 3 out of 4 from beyond 50. He's hit from 52. There isn't a lot of wind, but Peterman and the offense are out there at the 37, hoping to reach the end zone.
Bird.
Peterman has room to run, but that's going to bring an end to the first half. Let's take a look at our play of the first half, presented by DirecTV. More for your thing, that's our thing. The fumble returned by Eddie Jackson, 66 yards. Leonard Floyd also had an interception return for a touchdown. And Jordan Howard has scored twice here in Buffalo. The Bears with a 28-0 halftime lead. Let's head to Los Angeles and the Visa halftime report. Time for today's game flow, brought to you by Progressive. Well, here in Buffalo, the Bills, after hanging on Monday night for a half with the Patriots, hung with a quarter with the Bears, I should say, till that second quarter. Chicago exploding for 28 points. Half of those coming on defense as we start the third quarter, and a touchback. Out to the 25-yard line comes the offense and Nathan Peterman. I know you were a little bit upset. Darryl Johnston, Chris Myers will head down to Laura Oakman on the field in a moment with Peterman before the half. They had a chance there on a Hail Mary, and he ran the ball downfield. Buffalo had no shot at getting any points.
No, and here's the reason why I was frustrated with that play, because now he is thinking about what the response is going to be outside the building. He had 2 interceptions in the first half. They weren't his fault. Now, if he throws that one at the end of the half, he's got 3 in the first half. There's no way he's going to outrun the Chicago Bears defense in for a touchdown. So he has to come out. He's got to be aggressive and start taking his opportunities and his shots down the field when they are there.
An aggressive try there, almost caught by Benjamin, ruled incomplete. But let's go back, because they were at the 37 of Chicago.
And untimed down, right? You get a holding penalty. You're not getting in. You're not getting. Give your guys a shot. You know, it's a 37-yard throw into the end zone. It's well within your range. I did not like the decision there, and that makes me think that he is thinking about what the reality and the perception is going to be.
He came in having thrown 4 interceptions in one previous start and a couple of mop-ups. He has 2 today. Pass caught right away by Zay Jones and tackled right away. Laura?
We want to see what the Bills are going to do with the ball right now offensively. Sean McDermott is no different, saying, I want to see what we do in this first series, because we can make adjustments, but it doesn't matter if we don't protect the ball and play better fundamentally. As for Matt Nagy's defense, he told me we're playing fast with confidence and aggressive. That's contagious. I want more. Last couple weeks we preached finishing. That's what he preached in the locker room, saying keep the pedal to the metal.
Thank you, Laura. And that's what the Bears want to do. They want this half to go fast, get out of town with a win, get back to Chicago, get ready for the Lions and the Vikings coming to town. Logan Thomas makes that catch right at the 35-yard line, good enough for a first down.
Yeah, and this is just executed better across the board. It was almost an identical play than what we saw at the end of the first half, a blitz where we had the penalty when the blitzing linebacker went into the knee of Nathan Peterman. That time he picked it up. He used better technique, like Coach McDermott is saying.
Peterman. Open is Benjamin at midfield, knocked down right away by Fuller, but it's a first down catch. LaShawn McCoy in this game, 7 rushes, just 8 yards. As Peterman hustles the offense, so not getting a lot from him, but Benjamin does hang on here.
He's got to have awareness out on that field. I mean, he's a big, tall, wide receiver. He's got to feel that defender coming and protect himself and not take that big hit.
Alpha, go!
Logan Thomas inside the 45 of Chicago. Adrian Amos
It looks like a completely different offense
Making
at
the
the
tackle.
start of the second half
Well, I think
than what we saw at the end of the first half.
Maybe the Bears are playing, I'm not saying a little looser here, Daryl, but aren't they kind of giving some ground a little bit?
Well, yeah, you're in a position where you can play safe, you can play that prevent defense, but on the opening series of the second half, I don't know.
Inside the 40, LaShawn McCoy down to the 36.
I like the up tempo. You've got yourself into a rhythm. Keep that rhythm going by calling plays at the line of scrimmage.
Third catch of the game for McCoy. Good enough for a Buffalo first down. This is the best their offense has looked all afternoon. Ivory in at running back. Peterman's pass to Thomas. Going short again. Tackled inside the 35. Peterman over 115 yards passing now. It's 2nd and 5.
Alpha, go!
Peterman under pressure and eventually goes down. Isaiah Irving got in there and chased Peterman out of the pocket and eventually brought him down.
And this is the one area they've got to get this short up, because we're getting edge rushers coming in, and it's really impacting everything, and it's on both sides. But a good job climbing up in the pocket, get moving.
There is a flag.
Number 20, 5-yard penalty added to the end of the run. First down.
Prince Mukamara called for a hold, a defensive hold for an automatic first down. It was a flag we saw late at the far left side of the field. That moves the Bills even closer.
Is the streak going to come to an end here, Chris? Are we finally going to get that touchdown?
Well, this is the closest they've been to the goal line of the Bears all afternoon. That dump off to Ivory. 2 Bears waiting for him, but he's sandwiched in between, staying in bounds.
I think that Chris Ivory needs a few more touches here in this half as well. To more of a downhill type runner. If your blocking is not great up front, LaShawn McCoy style of kind of extending plays and maybe losing ground to try to create ground, maybe not the best thing right now.
Quick pass is incomplete. Coverage was good by Fuller on Zay Jones, and Carissa has a game break.
Thanks, Chris. Don't look now. Falcons heating up. They were already up 21-7 on the road when Matt Ryan finds Tevin Coleman for this 10-yard score. Coleman's second of the day. Falcons looking for their first road win. They're up 28-7. Chris?
All right, thank you. And try to stay in the mix in the NFC South, where the Saints play the Rams later today, so things could tighten up. Carolina winning as well. Peterman knocked away at the last moment. Terrell Pryor, the target.
Opportunities are going to present themselves every once in a while. Nathan Peterman had LaShawn McCoy wide open on this play. He's going to come from the backfield, probably just your little wheel route down the side. But he gets caught up and he gets turned loose right there. He's got him for the touchdown.
So they're going to line up for a field goal. Darryl, and your thought on this? Field goal's not going to win the game for you. You just want to get some points.
Well, you got to build some positive stuff. That was a really nice opening drive. You don't want to walk away with 0 points. So I'm okay here getting it to 28-3, and then let's start building from there.
From 41 yards away, Stephen Hauschka, and a roar from the loyal fans here in Buffalo to avoid a Bills shutout. They'll be kicking off to the Bears. It's 28-3. Bears come into Buffalo, and with the defense adding to their takeaways this year, get 2 defensive touchdowns. Jordan Howard scoring twice. Bills offense continuing the touchdown drought, but finally get on the board with a Hauschka field goal. Buffalo kicking off. Mizell back to receive. 4 running backs active behind Howard, Cohen, and Benny Cunningham. Taquan Mizell from Virginia, called up from the practice squad, and he'll let that go through. Last week against the Jets, Matt Nagy, head coach, it was a 7-3 lead as they began the third quarter, talking to his quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky.
I'm
going to challenge you right now, these 2 quarters, for greatness.
Yes, sir.
You got me?
Got you.
I want to see it come out of you right here.
Yes, sir.
You take this thing over right now.
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go.
And his quarterback, his team went on to win. A couple of things stood out, Darrell. I want you to talk about that relationship between head coach and quarterback. And just the response by Trubisky, yes, sir, yes, sir. And then delivering for his team, attempting to throw here. Down the middle of the field for Gabriel. Here's a flag and another flag. Philip Gaines looked like he got the arm on him initially before the second flag came in.
Pass interference. Defense number 28. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
And this is your deep ball threat too, Taylor Gabriel. So aware of that. But Mitchell Trubisky has a big arm. He throws a nice deep ball, and he's starting to pull away right there. So Philip Gaines has got to hook him. And
a 47-yard penalty. And maybe he needed to do that, or Gabriel would have caught that and run all the way into the end zone. Big arm from Trubisky getting the ball out there on a first down play. Pressure coming, and open is Gabriel inside the 15.
That might even be a better throw than the last one. I mean, you're backpedaling, avoiding the rush, and still able to get a lot of velocity on this football. So after a really nice opening drive by the Bills, Taylor Gabriel coming out and just taking away all the emotion, all the energy that was in the stadium.
Trubisky nearing 120 yards. He has not turned it over. Did get sacked with a fumble that the Bears came up with early. But like his coach from last week, talk about greatness, they just come out and, despite a 28-3 lead, going for more. It's Jordan Howard who is knocked down. Yeah, I wanted to get your reaction to Coach Nagy, and he said that was an impromptu kind of reaction last week. He didn't plan something like that, but he feels like he has that kind of relationship with Mitchell Trubisky.
I don't think it was as important for the second half of last week's game against the Jets as it is moving forward. Now, he did not have a really good statistical first half and came out and had a really nice second half, but I think for Coach Nagy, what that was is getting him ready for this stretch coming up here towards the end of the season.
The pitch to Cohen. You hear some tough hitting going on down around the 10-yard line. And just the importance of having an offensive head coach, a guy who's been a play caller. I know that was something when Ryan Pace, the fine general manager in his 4th season with Chicago, was out looking for a head coach, struck him with Matt Nagy and wanted somebody to connect with his quarterback, hoping for the kind of relationship. Pace was in New Orleans for 15 years and saw what Drew Brees and Sean Payton did, that kind of working relationship, hoping that develops with his coach and quarterback here over time. On 3rd and 8. Anthony Miller short of the first down. Julian Stanford making the tackle. Miller, that's his 5th catch, a career best. And has also hit a career high in yards. The rookie from Memphis, so a field goal. They come out and line up for Cody Parkey.
I don't want to say that there's not been great, quarterback head coach combinations, on the other side. I mean, Belichick and Brady are kind of defensive and, defensive background. Even Landry and Staubach, Tom Landry's, had a lot of defense in his background. So it can happen, but we're seeing it more and more now where it's that offensive head coach.
23 yards away. And Parkey pokes that one through. So the Bills get 3, and the Bears come right back downfield and get 3. Chicago in control here in the 3rd quarter. The Bears add a field goal and support across the country. On the road with a sizable lead. 1-2 on the road this year. The win was at Arizona when they won a tight one 16-14. The 3 road games this season decided by a total of 6 points. That 1-point loss at Green Bay and an overtime loss at Miami. Touchback out to the 25-yard line. We mentioned that Sean McDermott last year got the Bills into the playoffs to end that 17-year drought of not going to the postseason. These are the current strings. And forgive me, Daryl, if I sound like a bandwagon jumper, but I'm looking at the Bears saying I'm going with that group this year.
Yeah, if we're going to go with one of those four, absolutely. And it's been a quick turnaround. We've talked. They seem to be way ahead of schedule, and I think they've surprised a few people the first half of the season. It'll be interesting to watch them down the stretch.
And it was interesting. Last weekend, in a matter of hours, they went from the bottom of the division to the top, as Peterman is in trouble, and he'll keep it. And slides across the 30-yard line. He's been throwing to Logan Thomas quite a bit. Logan Thomas has 10 career catches before today, and Thomas has 7 in this game alone for 40 yards. They moved the ball well to start the open of this half and ended up with 3 after a gain of 5. McCoy thrown backward. Danny Trevathan.
They've got a couple of pretty good inside linebackers, which is really customary for a Chicago Bears defense. But Danny Trevathan and then Roquan Smith, their first-round draft pick this year, have a real good feel getting through the line of scrimmage into the backfield.
You know, and you made a good point about you can have a defensive head coach and still have success, but you got Matt Nagy, who's an offensive-minded guy, right? And yet they draft Smith number 1, and they go out and give up two number 1s for Khalil Mack. But I don't think he's complaining. Nagy, when he was in Kansas City, saw Mack up close a lot with the Raiders and was very supportive and encouraging. Incomplete. Intended for Benjamin. Encouraging the front office to go get Mack if they could. It was an interesting story as we look at Kelvin Benjamin, the target here.
And here we are again, right? There's that tight man-to-man coverage, very tight. You know, some hand checking. You know, some of the fans here, a little bit of a boo, but they're just letting them play on the outside. And you got to make the catch. Is it right on spot? No, but you get paid to do a job, and that's to catch footballs. Kelvin Benjamin's got to get better on the outside making plays.
Schmidt. Wow. A poor kick. And it flutters over to the Buffalo sideline. Didn't get much distance on that. The Bears will have, once again, excellent field position. They mark it, looks like, at the 45-ish. The frustration continues for the Bills here in Buffalo. And the Bears on the offensive after an 18-yard punt. With our producer, Fran Morrison, director Brian Lilly, the best-dressed director, by the way, in the history of broadcast sports television. And back at the tape room, Steve Malone and Donche Brown. We thank them for their help on our broadcast to you from Buffalo. Jordan Howard, fake to him. Mitchell Trubisky from the pocket. And an mix-up, interception, take away Buffalo. Tre'Davious White returns all the way inside the 45 of Chicago. I was stunned to see the ball thrown to that area where there was no receiver.
Yeah, not at 31-3. You know, at 14-3, yeah, I'm all for being aggressive and keeping the pedal to the metal. But as you said, at 31-3, let's see what happens at the top with that bunch, because obviously there's a mix-up right here because the ball is thrown into an area where there's no receiver. I don't know if Trey Burton, number 80, was supposed to get higher, if one of the outside guys was not supposed to run a go and slow it down. But this is just simply overthrown. He just overthrew Trey Burton.
White with a 37-yard interception return from the 42. McCoy gets down to around the 37-yard line. First turnover for the Bears in this game. Their defense has 3 takeaways. Under 6.5 to go, and discussing it with backup quarterback Chase Daniel is Mitchell Trubisky.
L59! Alpha, go!
Zay Jones run out of bounds. You were surprised that Buffalo, given the situation they were in, didn't make any moves at the trade deadline last Tuesday. This was earlier in the season when these deals were done, but on the actual day of the deadline, Golden Tate, Ty Montgomery, Darius Thomas, some offensive talent was moved. Peterman's throw catch made and going out of bounds is Jones.
Yeah, and one of the things that they need on the outside are some playmakers. So there were some guys there. Amari Cooper went earlier, prior to the trade deadline. Dallas making a move before they went into the bye to have him ready for Monday night. But then on the eve of the trade deadline, to get a guy like Demaryius Thomas or a guy like Golden Tate, even Ty Montgomery is a weapon who can go in the backfield as a running back or go outside as a wide receiver. I was surprised that Buffalo did not try to do something to bring in another skill player on the outside.
On 4th and 1, passing up a field goal try as Peterman keeps for a first down. It would have been a 51-yarder. So at the 5-minute mark, Bills with a fresh set of downs. Well, Buffalo thinking we have our quarterback of the future, and Sean McDermott was candid with us. Josh Allen, once healthy, and they think he will play this year. It's a week-to-week thing. He's been out at practice kind of simulating plays, but not throwing with that right elbow. But at some point, he'll get some game experience this year and build around him going forward. From the pocket, Peterman. McCoy knocked down right away at the 34. Roquan Smith, who's had a busy afternoon roaming the field.
He is good. I mean, that's open space on LaShawn McCoy. Number 1 pass coverage on LaShawn McCoy, and then a really nice tackle there. So both of those inside backers, good in coverage, good against the run.
Vikings still leading in the 4th quarter, 17-6 over the Detroit Lions. As Peterman is going to go down. Shoved all the way back to the 40. Isaiah Irving with the sack.
I mean, I've seen a half a sack before, but this is almost a quarter of a sack. I mean, like all 4 guys are almost back there to get a share of this thing. I mean, where is the protection?
Saw Trevathan come in, but give Irving the credit for getting there first. Danny Trevathan, who is the leading tackler on this Bears defense, or at least was coming into this game. On 3rd and 15. Out we go! Peterman with a 4-man rush gets out of there and is knocked down around the 30-31-yard line. Scrambling for his life.
I mean, these are just simple things that they're doing. It's a 4-man. They're adding 1 blitzer, but this is just a loop inside. These are simple pass protection rules that should be being able to be executed at this stage of the season.
On 4th down, they're spotted at the 31. They need, call it 9, because they need to get to the 22 for a first down. Try to keep the drive alive. Peterman has plenty of time. Now he's on the run for the end zone, and Kelvin Benjamin knocked away. Should have been caught, but an excellent defensive play to make it tough on Benjamin, trying to bring the football back to his body. And the Bears defense keeps the Bills out of the end zone. 31-3. Bears defense, which has forced the most 3-and-outs of any team this season. It was a lengthy drive. Peterman tried in the end zone, but the streak of no touchdowns, 36 consecutive possessions and 10 in this game. Bears take over after the Bills are stopped on downs. Jordan Howard, 2 touchdowns in the 2nd quarter. Bears hope to get the running game going.
Well, in my opinion, the streak should have ended on that last play by the Buffalo Bills. Watch what Nathan Peterman does here. He's going to scramble out to his right. This is 4th and almost 10 yards, and as he moves back to his left, he finds Kelvin Benjamin right there. So now he scrambled, he resets, makes a nice throw, puts the ball right where it needs to be. You've got to finish the play. We talked about that, the supporting cast. When there's an opportunity to make a play, help your quarterback out and make the play.
Benjamin at 6'5", too, was up, had his hands on it, but the Bears defense knocks it away. Bears have also not allowed a rushing touchdown this entire season. Bills haven't even been close in that department. Trubisky's throw, Tariq Cohen, just short of the 40-yard line. Laura.
And wanted to add something. You guys were talking about how great it is for Mitchell Trubisky to have a quarterback as his head coach. He also has a former quarterback in his ear with quarterback coach Dave Ragone. And Trubisky told me he knows me better than anyone, how great it is having him in my ear, telling me things I need to have the right mindset during the game. Also making sure I'm showing the right body language to my teammates, just making sure I have that attack mindset that nobody can stop me when he qualified, when I'm doing the right things.
On 3rd and 3, a little option here. The pitch Trubisky and the Bills are ready for is Cohen is knocked down.
Every once in a while they get a little bit fancy with some of their play calls. I've seen it a couple times watching film in 3rd and short situations. They try and beat you with scheme, and sometimes I think they could just line up and beat you with their power. We've seen Jordan Howard a couple of times today on just a simple zone read instead of going out and optioning off the edge.
Good defensive play by Matt Milano, second-year linebacker from Boston College, part of that youthful injection in this Buffalo defense. Tremaine Edmonds out. He was their leading tackler with a concussion, the middle linebacker. We've already seen Tre'Davious White, second-year player, with an interception. And Micah Hyde grabs that punt on a bounce. Bills on offense now will continue in 30 seconds. 61-yard punt from Pat O'Donnell. The Bears defense, impressive numbers and the actions to back it up.
58 Mike, read it.
Trevathan, Roquan Smith, and Akeem Hicks busy today. Peterman gets rid of it as the 3rd quarter is winding down.
I think there's going to be a run on Rice Krispies treats with all the young pass rushers around the country. You see Khalil Mack on the sideline sneaking a little Rice Krispie treat.
Enjoying a snack. Interesting story. Ryan Pace was telling me they called the Raiders in training camp, said, hey, is Khalil Mack available? They said, no, not yet. Nothing going. So he kept calling week after week, and then as the contract issue went on and on, he kept calling Reggie McKenzie and John Gruden, and finally broke through, said, you want 2 number ones? We'll give you 2 number ones. They just wanted a second rounder back, and they were able to get that back and add one of the best defensive players in the game. And even the Bear players were on defense. We're like, wow, we can get him.
As good as they were, even before he got. I mean, this was a top 10 defense last year, expecting to take that next step this season.
Peterman. And that's picked off the ground. Kyle Fuller has an interception. It was intended for Ivory. And a 4th takeaway for the Bears. Ruled an interception on the field as the quarter comes to an end. And that is a clean pick by Kirk Fuller, his 4th of the season. Start of the 4th quarter, Kyle Fuller. I may have called him Kirk a moment ago, but that is a clean interception. There was a fumble on the end of that play, but the Bears came up with a recovery. Prince Mukamara had it anyway, whether they ruled him down or not. So another takeaway, 4th of this game for the Bears defense, 21 for the season. The Browns have 23. That's updated to the moment to lead all of football. And taking over inside the Buffalo 30, Jordan Howard gets down to around the 22.
Go back and take a look at that last interception coming on the outside. Kelvin Benjamin, he's got to square that off a little bit more. A little stumble right there. So it's the route thing. And again, here goes another one that's going to get thrown right onto Nathan Peterman. But again, this is a combination. It's not a great route by Kelvin Benjamin. And here's the fumble that Chris was talking about. You can see before the knees get, or the player is down, it comes loose. But recovery, clear recovery by the Bears teammate.
Tariq Cohen being chased out of bounds. Time to get another game break. And hello, Kurt Menefee.
Hello there, Chris Myers. A couple of NFC North teams going at it, so Bears fans interested in this. It's going the Vikings' way so far. Kerryon Johnson credited with the fumble off the pitch from Matthew Stafford. Danielle Hunter says thank you very much. 32 yards later, it's good for 7, and 24-6 is the count right now. Vikings cruising with under 7 minutes left. Chris, Moose, Laura.
All right, thank you, Kurt. That's the way the division looked coming into the day. Looks like the Vikings will move up with a win, and so will the Bears. Bears going to use a timeout at the moment. What do you think of that division? It's an interesting matchup tonight with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Green Bay having another tough go at it. The Bears-Patriots played an exciting game early this year. Chicago went toe-to-toe with those Patriots.
Yeah, this is a team that's much better than I thought they're going to be year one under Matt Nagy. Matt Patricia in Detroit. You got a couple, young coaches there. I thought Detroit might have a little push there. They started to play well. We'll have to wait and see. But this is one that I think we all felt Green Bay was going to be in control of. Minnesota, going to the championship game last year, was going to be right in the hunt, but it has really gotten muddled up a little bit. So it'll be one of the fun ones to watch down the stretch. If
Matt Patricia's watching, we're both sitting up straight when we're talking about, or standing straight, I should say, when we're talking about the Lions in that division. The Lions will play in Chicago next Sunday, and then they'll take on the Vikings in Chicago. Trubisky for the end zone. Incomplete. Joshua Bellamy was open down there, but it was a tough throw, and Bellamy ran a kind of an unusual route.
Yeah, again, we've seen this a couple of times for us this season. I don't know how you allow a guy to run by you. So Tre'Davious White kind of sitting on something, thinking he's got help over the top, but lucky that throw was out of bounds. Or there's a touchdown, easy touchdown for the Bears that was missed.
Parkey to try a 45-yarder. He's made from 23. And even though the Bear offense hasn't exactly looked the way Matt Nagy would like, if his kicker can deliver, that's a good sign. And he does once again as the Bears add to their lead. 13.5 to go. Interception somehow find Nathan Peterman. 3 today. He's put the ball up 35 times, over 130 yards. Didn't get a whole lot of support from some of his teammates in key moments, as the Bills have just 3 and awaiting the kickoff of Cody Parkey, excuse me. And back to receive Marcus Murphy. Parkey 2 for 2 in the field goal department, has made all his extra points today. And another touchback. He's done well in that department. Mentioned first-year head coach Matt Nagy, quarterback in the Arena League with 4 teams, was an Eagles intern, really not even a quality control coach, but right almost near that level before getting to that level. And then with Andy Reid in Kansas City, quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator from 2013 to 17 before in January being named the head coach of the Chicago Bears. He was actually a real estate agent, selling real estate when he thought his football career was coming to an end. As Peterman dumps it off to Murphy. Had some tough decisions to make, but he and his wife talked it over when he had the opportunity, went for it, got a few breaks from some people, including a diehard Bears fan that comes around in the real estate business. But Andy Reid, Brad Childress, some people that were in his corner.
Some tremendous people. And Brad Childress, spending time with him all through training camp this year to kind of what he called ramp up, be able to handle a lot of the day-to-day when he was learning on the fly.
Peterman hit in the pocket, but escapes with the football and then knocked down around the 19. Eddie Jackson make that Adrian Amos eventually bringing him down.
A nice job by Nathan Peterman, just maintaining possession on this hit, because he's got the ball up, cocked, ready to throw it, and he gets the contact right there. So good job. I mean, you've got a big body there trying to push the ball into your hand with Akeem Hicks, and being able to maintain possession, save another turnover. Again, that's the second time he's taken one to the head with the hand that hasn't been called.
After a loss of 2, blitz coming. Peterman knocked down a flag in the secondary as Aaron Lynch chases him, but I don't think he sees the flag up at the 36-yard line.
And you got another flag on the other side. A little inappropriate celebration by Aaron Lynch.
Does that fall into the category of taunting or unsportsmanlike, or
just classless, I would say? I mean, he does it, nice pass rush, good effort, good hustle, laying out, stopping right there. Okay, it's a good play, but again, just be smart about it. It's an emotional game, but manage your emotions. Don't do something that's going to cost your team.
As I mentioned, coming into the game, Bears' second fewest penalties in the league.
While the quarterback was still in the pocket, illegal contact, defense number 20, that penalties decline. At the end of the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, defense number 99. That penalty will be enforced from the end of the run, automatic first down.
So today now that's 10 penalties accepted on the Bears, and it keeps the Bills moving up to the 32-yard line. We're talking about Matt Nagy taking over this team, and one of the things he wanted to create was an environment where everybody's important. Players process details, but are themselves. As Chris Ivory carries, and
there you
still
go.
going. What a run to midfield. I know you said you wanted him a little bit earlier to see the football more, and he did there. Laura?
I want to keep talking about that environment you're talking about with Nagy, because when we talked to Hicks and Trevathan, they said how much it permeates in that locker room. They said we have a corner in the locker room, and I know people will think, that's where we make fun of each other, and we do. But he said the biggest thing is we look out for guys. We clean up a guy's locker if he's not feeling good. We give him snacks. We give him food if he hasn't eaten, Chris.
Thanks, an 18-yard run, and then Ivory on the catch. It's down to around the 30, so the Bills moving the football. I thought it was interesting when Nagy said that he wanted early his coaches in the lunchroom to sit with other people in the organization. They weren't allowed to sit with each other, because he wanted people from top to bottom to all feel a part of what he and Ryan Pace and the Bears are doing.
Yeah, just extending that feeling of being a part of a team, not just within the 53 that are on the roster, but throughout the entire building.
Peterman has room to run. A couple of flags come in, and he gets down to around the 20-yard line. I saw two Bears fall down or be put to the turf when those flags flew back at the 35-36.
During the run, holding, offense number 76. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay first down.
Right guard John Miller will negate the run of Nathan Peterman. Bills will play at the Jets next before getting a week off, that bye week, and then they get the Jags here in Buffalo and then down to Miami. And the Dolphins are leading the Jets 13-3. Fourth quarter down in South Florida.
59 blood. Leave. 5-8. Leave 5-8.
Glasses. 180. Where's it on? 180.
After the penalty, pressure on Peterman. He was lucky to get that away. Trevathan was in on Peterman.
So you got two of them that walked up here. They're showing the blitz, and LeSean McCoy stays to the left side. He probably should have crossed over to the right. It doesn't look like that was a mix-up in the offensive line, so I think LeSean probably had a scan protection, which means you have to go both sides, check both linebackers.
Those inside guys, and Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan and Leonard Floyd in the first half with an interception and a return for a touchdown. Eddie Jackson had a fumble return for a touchdown in that explosive second quarter when the Bears grabbed this game by the throat.
Intentional grounding, offense. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Lost it down, second down.
Sean McDermott lobbying that it was in the direction. It was intended to a receiver that was downfield, and it was. It landed about halfway in between.
Well, the pressure was on, so that's why he couldn't get the ball further downfield.
58. Overload. Sorted.
Here comes the blitz again. Peterman goes down at the 48 of Buffalo. Jonathan Bullard got to it first.
Yeah, and this is just a tough position for this offensive line of the Bills to be in. The Bears are just, they got their ears pinned back. They're coming after the quarterback every snap.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 58. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
That's on Smith. They're piling up the sacks and the penalties. Well, that first glance was not really a face mask, kind of slid off the helmet. The call against Roquan Smith.
Everybody needs a little help on a tough day, Chris.
10 minutes to go. Chris Ivory in the backfield from the 35 of Chicago. He has the football with room. And Ivory inside the 20 of the Bears.
I would continue to find a way to get the ball to Chris Ivory, either running it, some screen passes. Yeah, he's the one guy right now here in the last couple of series, running with a physical presence.
On 4 carries, he has more rush yards than LaShawn McCoy has on 9 carries. Peterman's pass. Benjamin. Remember, the Bears they're the only team who have not allowed a rushing touchdown this season. Ivory shoved backwards. It'll bring up 3rd down. Need to get to the 9 for a first down.
You talked about the Bears defense not allowing a rushing touchdown, but also let's not forget about this struggle that the Bills offense has been in scoring a touchdown. You don't want to be the defense that has that streak broken on.
37 possessions, 11 in this game and counting consecutively. Benjamin knocked down but gets a first down. Let's get a game break and check it again with Kurt Menefee. Kurt?
Well, a reminder, when you guys are done in Buffalo, 2 of the best offensive minds in football will go head-to-head. Sean Payton against Sean McVay, better known as the Saints and the Rams. It's America's Game of the Week. It's a huge one, and you can catch it at the conclusion of your game. Chris, Moose, and Laura.
Thank you. And we look forward to that. We're excited to see those 2 offenses, those 2 teams, their outstanding records, the Saints and Rams coming up. I'm Chris Myers, and I approve this message. As Akeem Hicks heads over to the sun. It's that time of year. You can't put on the TV without getting those ads. Good to have you watching with us, Daryl Johnston. We have our open on the field, Chris Myers. Daryl, not only a 3-time Super Bowl champ, but you're in the Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, which is an honor I know that means a lot to you, having roots in this part of the country. And always made to feel comfortable when you come up to Western New York. Ivory goes nowhere. I mentioned that honor. You talked about some of the others who have been put in.
Very flattering to be on that list, and
not just football, right? They got them in all sports. Basketball,
the hockey. Some of us are homegrown. Some of us are guys that came from other parts of the country but played for some of the Buffalo franchises.
Don Makowski, right, for the Packers.
Yeah, he went into my class. Yeah, the Magic Man. Before there was Fitzmagic, there was Magikowski.
Does Peterman have magic? St. Jones gets a little closer. It'll be 3rd and goal. The pride of Bear defenders keeping Buffalo out of the end zone, and Bills trying to end a string. 39 consecutive possessions that Sean McDermott has watched without a touchdown from his Buffalo Bills. Peterman for the end zone, and here comes a flag.
Well, they're going to have 4 more chances to break this streak. Should be pass interference on Prince Amukamara.
He's shaking his head as if the call is coming.
pass interference. Defense number 20. The foul occurred in the end zone. The ball will be at the 1-yard line. Automatic first down.
I don't know. Prince Amukamara he's got his hand on him, but it looks like that Kelvin Benjamin just goes down on his own. So
yeah, that could have been a no call, but
A59.
first and goal after the penalty. Chris Ivory leaps and does not get in. And the clock runs. It looks like he's hurting.
see if he turns his shoulders on the run right there and takes a shot right on Danny Trevathan. And that is textbook right there. I mean, Chris Ivory's a physical guy.
They are checking on Ivory here in Buffalo. Chris Ivory over on the Buffalo bench after being helped. He was able to walk over there with some assistance after that try in the end zone. So second and goal, LaShawn McCoy comes in with Peterman. He has the football, and McCoy is stopped cold. Jonathan Bullard got to him first.
And this is a really nice tackle. Look at number 59, Danny Trevathan, squares up, comes in. You can see that helmet hit right on the upper left arm of Chris Ivory. So he's coming off the field, had that arm bent, and then let's try LaShawn McCoy. And again, winning the line of scrimmage, one of the things that both coaches talked about. It's been back and forth, but down here on the goal line, the Bears have been winning it.
McCoy without a touchdown this year. Bears have not given up a rushing touchdown on third and goal. Peterman keeps, and Peterman is in with a Buffalo touchdown. And a roar from this crowd that has been frustrated all afternoon. And that snaps the string of offensive ineptitude.
And it shows you how important that quarterback position is. That's when Josh Allen went out, when he got hurt, was in that Houston game. And it's been tough ever since, as this Bills offense has been trying to find a way.
Flag down. Hauschka awaiting the extra point try. Remember, it was a pass interference penalty that set up that first and goal. A drive of 75 yards, nearly 8 minutes.
12 men on the field. Defense, after this penalty, the offense has elected to go for 2 points. The ball will be placed at the 1-yard line.
Penalty against the Bears gives the Bills a closer opportunity to try. So instead of kicking, they're going to go for the 2-point conversion.
Another teaching opportunity for Matt Nagy and his staff right here. At 34-9, this is not a big deal for the Chicago Bears, but to have 12 guys out there on a PAT in that situation in a close game, this could be a big deal. So one of the things the Bears will be able to work on and get pointed out.
First try this year for 2 for the Buffalo Bills. Peterman, and that fails. Kyle Fuller, who had an earlier interception, kept Pryor from getting on the conversion, but Nathan Peterman punches it in for Buffalo's first touchdown in a long time. It's how long it's been since the Bills offense scored a touchdown, and in that drive 3 defensive penalties against the Bears were accepted, covering the 75 yards, and the eventual touchdown. We could see an onside kick. Remember, it must travel 10, but the Bears are all over that. Recovery at midfield. Chicago alertly comes up with the football. Anthony Miller has that. Hey, coming up on Fox America's Game of the Week, the leaders of the NFC South, the Saints, on a hot streak. They only have 1 loss. The only undefeated team, the Los Angeles Rams. They mix it up in the Dome. Joe Buck, Aaron Andrews, Troy Aikman. part of that. Troy Aikman had a group in Dallas, the trio with Evan Smith and Michael Irvin, and what he did to produce great results. See what the Saints have with Kamara and Michael Thomas. Rams have Todd Gurley, Brandon Cooks. Cooper Kupp is back for the Rams today. And Jared Goff as Jordan Howard carries.
Yeah, and one of the big things here, Drew Brees in the discussion with the league MVP and Jared Goff. Again, one of those guys that I think really fits the opportunity to have an offensive-minded head coach moving away from Jeff Fisher, going to Sean McVay, has really kind of given his career a shot in the arm. So this is going to be a fantastic game. One of the things that's overlooked, there's a ton of offensive firepower in this game. You saw the triplets that you referenced. Now we've got the two quarterbacks. The defenses, both of these defenses are very good. Now they add the Rams added Dante Fowler at that trade deadline. That is now 7 first-round picks on that defense for Wade Phillips. So a lot of talent. So I think it's going to be great to watch that battle, the Saints offense versus the Rams defense.
Yeah, Marcus Davenport as Howard carries, and the Bills use a timeout. Marcus Davenport is injured and inactive in that game. And Todd Gurley has scored more touchdowns himself than some entire NFL teams, and it really is about offense. We know the scoring is up this year, the passing numbers are up, but yeah, you need enough defense to let your offense run wild, and these two teams have that.
Yeah, and that's the odd thing about this Buffalo team is the points and the passing yards that have been going on league-wide all season long, and yet they continue to struggle because of the quarterback situation. And these are two franchises we'll get to see in America's Game of the Week with Drew Brees, Jared Goff, as you pointed out, you know, a guy who's been there, done that a whole bunch, and maybe this next wave of good quarterbacks coming through the NFL and Jared Goff.
And look, those are the numbers, historical, most through the first 8 weeks as we are in week 9, and Trubisky going deep, and a flag as Anthony Miller was interfered with by Philip Gaines. Say, what, me? Maybe just a confidence throw on the part of the Bears, because their offense hasn't been crisp the way that they would like, and yet they have dominated this game.
No, they have not, and you know, again, the aggressive mentality this stage of the game with a 25-point spread, still getting vertical in the passing game.
Pass interference. Defense number 28. Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
Yeah, Trubisky told us, like, it's not realistic for me to think I'm going to complete every pass. It's still a learning process when you're in your second year, and I like that he said that he wants to remain humble. He said if you don't humble yourself, you'll be humbled by other guys quickly. And a lot of responsibility running this offense and being the quarterback of this franchise for the end zone, and knocked away. Micah Hyde batted that pass away. Trubisky, when asked about the greatest jump from last year to this year, and very different because of the head coach, the offense, the amount of playing time for him, he said he's more in control. He wanted to be able to show his teammates that he's more aware of where everybody needs to be and where he needs to go with the football, even though he's had some moving parts and additions on offense.
Yeah, but more comfortable at the line of scrimmage, more comfortable with the overall command of the offense. And again, he's starting over. You know, this is his second offense in his career now, so.
And this, Daryl, this is bad news for the Bears, even for a slight hesitation, because Taylor Gabriel, who has become the go-to guy since Allen Robinson has had the groin injury, and he was bothered a little bit by a knee during the week, and he is down in the end zone on this play, and they're checking on him. Laura?
While they check, I'm going to continue with Trubisky. One of the things he told me, the biggest thing he came into this game focusing on, footwork and eyes. He said, if I have calm feet in the pocket and have eyes up, I think I could be a pretty dang good quarterback. I have such trust in the guys up front and on the outside. I'm just battling in the man in the mirror right now. He said, if you can figure out how to beat yourself, then you can beat anyone. And for me, that's having great footwork and have eyes up in the pocket.
Thank you. They are taking Gabriel to the sideline. You can see a noticeable limp there. And when we look at, we talked about Drew Brees, his record-setting season. Pam Oliver has had the most TV games on an NFL sideline. Michelle Tafoya second, and Laura Oakman moving up to third, slightly ahead of Armin Katayan.
Yeah, that's awesome. Into the top 3. So what is that? That puts her, let's see, 36, 55, 91. So she's got to do about 6 more years. 6 more years, Laura, to get to number 2.
You guys just made me feel so old. Thank you. Back to you.
A quick toss on that one. And we may see a quick toss here from Trubisky. He's going to throw it. And he does for a touchdown. Trey Burton. th 16th touchdown pass of the season for Trubisky.
And I think that number 5 for Trey Burton, number 2 in the NFL among tight ends and touchdown catches. So a great addition to this Bears offense, and it's kind of a unique position. That the way that they utilize that tight end position in this offense, he's a perfect fit.
It is his 5th touchdown reception of this season. He only has 2 catches in the game. He maximizes catches for touchdowns. And a comfortable looking play between 2 guys who are very comfortable with each other.
Yeah, they really are. They've developed a rapport very quickly in this offense. And again, we always hear about that, the quarterback and the tight end. But maybe kind of another wrinkle into that is, you look at Trey Burton, and he's got that quarterback background from college, and now not just the recognition of the play as it develops, but also the mindset with Mitchell Trubisky as well.
And having played quarterback, running back at Florida, and then tight end, and when we talked to Trey Burton, he said all that helped because he, when he plays the other position, he knows the offense well, the blocking schemes, the passing schemes, what the quarterback is thinking and needs. So a good guy for Trubisky and the Bears to lean on. And I think if you're wondering, hey, why are the Bears throwing? Are they, they rubbing it in here? Well, remember Buffalo tried the onside kick, and they had a timeout. So maybe the Bears respond with, you know what,
You're going to try and get back into the game at this stage? We're going
to make sure you stay far away from getting back into the game. And a touchback there. Thursday night, the NFL on Fox in a big game with Cam Newton and the Panthers taking on Ben Roethlisberger of the Steelers. These are playoff contenders. Pittsburgh leading Baltimore at the moment. Carolina hanging on against Tampa Bay. And a lot of fun as you'll see it. 7:30 Eastern on Fox, the NFL Network, and also streaming live on Prime Video. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews, Christina Pink on the call. Just over 4.5 to play. 41-9, the Bears with the lead. Terrell Pryor with the reception. Again, signed this week.
Four down, 44's Mike.
Been battling an injury with the Jets before he was released. Peterman will keep to get a first down. And time for a game break. Let's check in with Carissa.
Thanks, Chris. The Panthers were up 35-28. The Bucs tried to make a comeback, but Cam Newton separates himself by connecting with Curtis Samuel for that 19-yard score. Samuel's second of the day. Panthers lead 42-28. We will take you there, time permitting.
All right, thanks, Carissa. Vikings won today. They beat the Lions 24-9, so they go to 5-3-1.
Offense number 74. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Bears with the win will go to 5-3. Checking the Bears schedule, we've been talking about the divisional games coming up, 3 in an 11-day span, and 5 of the 8 in the second half of the Bears are against division opponents. Lions fall to 3-4, bottom of the division. As Peterman sets to throw, coming back to the football is Terrell Pryor. And we'll be with you next week in Chicago. Look forward to seeing Matthew Stafford and the Lions go up against this Bears defense.
And that's a tough road. You see right there in 11 days you've got 3 divisional games, kind of a unique situation where Lions separated by just that Vikings game. And we had that happen to us one time in Dallas, with the Philadelphia Eagles. Played them, on Thanksgiving and then a couple weeks later.
Incomplete. Here comes a flag. Andre Holmes, the target. And you love those head-to-head division games. If you're the Bears and you're on top, you get to control. I don't think you control destiny. Destiny is something that unfolds itself, but you control your own path to the playoffs if you beat the teams that are closest to you or in your division. That's what Matt Nagy his team is in position to do. Check.
Pass interference, defense number 20. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul, automatic first down.
That'll advance the ball up to the 42. Under Matt Nagy here, the Bears now have scored 40 or more twice this season. And this their 8th game. That did not happen under the previous coaching administration. Catch made by Holmes, a tough special teams player, backup receiver, getting some time for the Bills.
Yeah, and this is important for guys like Andre Holmes at this time to play, because they are looking for guys on the outside to contribute to this offense. So in a situation like this, put some good performances on that tape.
Peterman gets rid of it. After this, the State Farm game break, and then out to the Rams and Saints in New Orleans. Game we've been talking about, much anticipated. Could ultimately decide where the NFC Championship game is played, if you're thinking that far down the road. Jared Goff, who has developed so much under Sean McVay in the last year and a half, his first touchdown pass as a professional came in the Superdome in New Orleans in a loss. And Drew Brees is the NFL's most accurate passer, not just this year, but all time. And he has the most passing yards all time. Back to Jason Croom, tight end of the 25. Nearing the 2-minute warning here.
Jason Croom may be a guy, find a role for him in this offense. See what Brian Daboll is able to do as they start moving forward. He could be one of those athletic tight end guys that creates a mismatch in certain situations.
Go! Incomplete. Ray McLeod, the rookie from Clemson, was the target. Well, if you're the Bears, you come on the road against a very good defensive team, an angry team after a tough loss Monday night, and I hate to use the word trap game, but it kind of loomed as one of those. And after a scoreless opening quarter, defense took charge with some takeaways in the second quarter. Jordan Howard ran the ball in, and they have been in control ever since. Blitz is on. Peterman heaves it for the end zone and knocked away. Kelvin Benjamin was the target, but Kevin Tolliver, rookie free agent from LSU, was back there covering.
And you were able to do this. You were able to take care of your business, and you got to rest Allen Robinson. You got to rest Khalil Mack. We just showed you the schedule and what's coming up for the Chicago Bears. 5 divisional games, down the stretch, 3 in that 11-day period. So, what was maybe a bit of a concern, and the one thing is, can you come in with that thought process and go out and take care of business? And boy, this Bears defense really did that.
Murphy smothered right away. 4 or 5 Bears surrounding him. Bills with 2 timeouts and seconds away from the 2-minute warning as they try and get some more points. Picture perfect defensive day for the Bears, and the offense has added some points as well. It's 41-9 with 2 minutes to go. Hey, anytime you get to see an NFL game in person, there's a smile from ear to ear. He's a Bears fan too. That was a bonus in Buffalo to get a win like the Bears have today. Ready to cap 2 minutes away. As Peterman tries to get him into the end zone.
Right here.
And he is thrown down at the 40. Another outstanding defensive play. Roy Robertson, Harris. Some of the backups are in and still getting the job done.
And you're going up against a tight end, so you got to understand, and that's just Logan Thomas is. It's got to be better than that. You got a defensive end coming in, and you kind of were a swinging gate out there on the edge.
And we didn't get an update on Taylor Gabriel of the Bears, but we did get an update on a shoulder injury for Chris Ivory, and obviously out the remainder of the game as the Bears defense does its job. And so they can kneel down and watch the clock count down. And the defense of the Bears, it was old school the way they took over this with the Eddie Jackson fumble return. Leonard Floyd had the pick. Kyle Fuller with his 4th, and then you had Roquan Smith with 13 tackles, and Danny Trevathan added a dozen tackles. And on the offensive side, Mitchell Trubisky, you say, hey, wait a minute, 130 whatever passing yards, but he had like 90 or so that on 2 pass plays that were pass interference penalties against the Buffalo, or he would be well over the 200-yard passing mark. So however you win it. That's what Matt Nagy, first-year head coach, is satisfied with, as the Bears will go to 5-3 and come home to take on the teams that are close to them in the division. First the Lions and then the Vikings.
25 tackles from your inside linebacker position, and they weren't turnovers by the Bills as much as they were takeaways by the Bears. You made that point early on, Chris. It wasn't anything sloppy. They were takeaways by the Bears, and it was hanging there in that second quarter. Scoreless after the end of one, and we talked about potentially having maybe not a great performance by the Bears. That defense just took this game over second quarter.
Jordan Howard added a couple of touchdown runs, and Tariq Cohen some dazzling return work as well. Matt Nagy and the Bears in the victory column up here in Buffalo. State Farm Game Break show coming up, and then the Saints and the Rams from the Superdome in New Orleans. America's Game of the Week coming up on Fox. Mitchell Trubisky helping Chicago to their 5th win. For Laura Oakland, Daryl Johnston, Chris Myers, our entire crew. More NFL football ahead on Fox. Stick around for that. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening.